Hi, Roxanne. You found us again. Oh, my goodness. We really think that we've worked so hard to get this to work right, and for the internet just to drop out like that, yeah, it makes me, boy, I can't wait until we can start teaching a classroom again. All right, yeah. All right, Roxanne found us. Yay, Antra found us. More and more of you have found us. So we finished talking about the block lock rulers. I'm hoping that we can get back to doing that. I'm not sure if that I have. Now this one should be set up for members only to chat, but I don't think that it is, and I'm too afraid to change anything right now. So we're just going to continue on so that I'm hoping I can run, but I cannot hide. I can't run very fast, Roxanne, so it wouldn't be that hard for you to catch me. Trust me. All right, so now I'm going to go to the questions. So I want to give a little bit of a shout out first to the very first person that became a member, and that would be Pinky. Now, I just think that is super cool because her name is Pinky, and that makes me think about being in high school when there was that show Joni Loves Pinky, and her name was Pinky Tuscadero. And Pinky, I am wondering, any chance that you're named after Pinky Tuscadero? Because if so, you've got to be super cool because I love that name. So Pinky had a question for us. Pinky was wondering about marking on a quilt top. So I'm going to show you now some of my supplies for marking on a quilt top. Yeah, there's lots of them. So I've got some fabrics here, some white marking pencils. I'm going to get this all out here, and then we're going to cover what it is that Pinky's question is. So you love all these supplies? Can you tell I've been quilting for a really, really long time? When you see something like that, you go, yeah, that lady's been quilting for a really, really long time. So the first thing that she wants to know is about using the quilt pounce. Now, quilt pounce is a product by Hansi. They've been around for a long, long time. And the idea of the quilt pounce is that there is a chalky substance. So it's kind of a, I don't know, it looks almost like washing or terry cloth, I guess, with some powder on the inside. It does come in a couple of different colors, but obviously white is the most popular color. Now, about maybe 10 years ago, they came out with a product that was called the Ultimate Pounce. The regular pounce was literally baby powder in a sponge. I mean, that was really the gist of it. It didn't smell as nice as baby powder. It really had no smell at all. But it didn't have, it just was a powder. Now, with the Ultimate Pounce, they made it easier to remove in the end, and it holds a little bit better in the process. Now, when Pinky asked this question, I kind of had a little bit of a difficulty because I don't have stencils. The stencils that I have are stencils that I use for painting on fabric, which you've all seen those videos that I do. I don't have quilting stencils. I have not used a quilting stencil in years and years and years. And the last time it was to make a traditional feather, and now I found another way to do that. So maybe at some point that should be the question that you ask me, is how do you do a traditional feather without a stencil? So I pulled out this stencil because I thought at least it had some of these kind of lines so I could show you some different different marking tools. So the first one we're going to show is the pounce. Now, here's my stencil. Keep in mind, pounce actually does have some really cool stencils that they're blue, they're a little bit flexible, and they're a screen, and it kind of has a slot in the blue, and that's where the powder comes in, right? So with the pounce, you take it out of its package and you rub it over your stencil, and then you have to do this part. You have to say, ta-da, because that's how pounce works. It just goes right onto the fabric that easily and that quickly. But here's the problem with it, is that I'm trying to read a comment, something about the troubles. Yeah, we've been having technological troubles, definitely. The problem with pounce is that once it's there, it doesn't take much for you to rub it off. Now, keep in mind, this is Ultimate Pounce, so with this, I'm rubbing on it. It's not going all the way completely away. So I would be able to handle this a little bit to do some hand quilting possibly. So I'm going to try and handle it and see what happens. And you'll see what happens. It starts to get mushed around a little bit more, but let me try and do it some more. All right. It's still mushed around, but I can still see the line that I want to mark. If you were really handling this, I don't know how much of it, with all being mushed around like that, how helpful it would be for making the lines that you want. Now, the cool thing about the Ultimate Pounce, which is the one that I have here, is that if you take it to an ironing board, and I'm going to do this off camera, I'm going to take it to an ironing board, and I'm going to swipe my iron over it. Just swiping it. My iron is still hot, so I'm going over it 2, 3, 4 times. I went back and forth 4 times. Ta-da! It's gone. So that is how you lose the, you get rid of that. So Pinky, that's the Pounce. I don't love it because I think it's kind of messy. I do like that at least with the Ultimate Pounce, they made it so that it wasn't, that you could make it all go away pretty easily without having to wash the quilt. But honestly, when you get done quilting the quilt, you normally are going to wash it anyway. So let me tell you about some other marking tools. So if I'm going to mark on a dark fabric like this, my pencil of choice is going to be, this is the one by Sew Line. This is also the same, made by Boheen. Same exact product. They probably have the same company making it. Sew Line just happens to have some pretty flowers on it. What I love about this is it's a mechanical pencil, which means that it's always going to be sharp. This is one of the colors that it has. It has a pink lead. It has a graphite lead, a graphite and a green lead and white leads. So pretty much it's going to cover all of your fabrics. So this one I have a white lead in. I can easily get into all those little marks, and I'm going to tell you another one that maybe isn't so easy, but then you'll know what our options are. And when we lift that up, you can see that really, really well. And it's not going to go away very easily. All right. Now you can also, let's say that you were having some different colors. This is the green. I can see the green very easily. Same idea. Same with the pink. Now, on the white, I could use the green. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to use the white, but I could use the graphite or the pink. Now, keep in mind, these are special leads. These are not leads that have the oils in them that a number 1 and number 2, a normal number 2 pencil would have. These are special leads made for fabric, and these will wash out when you're done. So my number 1 choice would be this one from Boheen and all of their different leads. But know that there are other ones. This one is a big chalk one. So this comes with a really thick chalk. It does come with a sharpener and a whole case full of marking stuff. And that baby, yeah, you can see that from a mile away. He is going to mark really easily. I like this one because I don't use stencils. I mark registrations marks. Maybe along a border I might mark like this so that when I'm doing the quilting, I know to keep a swirl inside each one of those registration marks, because as you see, it doesn't work so well on a stencil. I can't get him inside the little groove on the stencil. So if you're doing free marking the way that I do it, this guy's really cool. He marks really, really nicely. Although I still would probably go to my Boheen first, and this is by Boheen also, but this guy works, and if I really got to press hard, he's got a super thick lead. Here's another choice. This one here is another favorite of mine. I do this all the time. Yeah, you do have to press hard with those chalks. With the friction pen, I can mark from nigh on to forever. Mark, 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 mark on light fabrics. This is the friction clicker, so people like to think it's broken, but it's not. It's that little, it's this, I don't know, that's a pocket holder little guy. That's the guy that marks. Now it also marks on paper. Don't sign a check with it, mind you. But you can mark on paper with it, and with this little rubber nub, you can erase. So this I love to use when I'm working in my calendar because I never know what my calendar is going to do. So with that, that's the friction. Now I'm going to mark here so you can see because I'm going to take this to the ironing board too. Mark, 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 mark. I'm going to take that to the iron real quick. Going to sweep, one sweep with the iron. Just one time, it disappeared. It's gone. All right. So that's a really good option. And this, if you were with lighter fabric, no problem getting through the slots. It's going to be just like a pen. Just a little ballpoint on there. You're going to be able to see beautifully. Other options for marking. Now, Pinky did mention that her quilt was already basted. Now, sometimes when your quilt is basted, that means that the surface is going to be really soft, and that's going to be kind of hard sometimes to use a pen or a chalk. That's when I would use the super little Mark Be Gone with the blue water soluble. So with this, yep, he can go, let me go to a place where it's clean. On the light fabrics, no problem. Can put right through, and when you've got a quilt that's basted, when I used to have a long arm quilt and I wanted to mark on it, this is the one that I would use because I would get the quilt on the big rack and then I could just mark all over it because it doesn't have to be on a hard surface. Now, some people say that this guy is dangerous because he may not actually go away. It'll go away with water. So usually if I'm marking it, I just kind of leave it be until I'm done. Here's a water pen. You could take a water pen and actually go over it. So let's say maybe you did this on an art wall quilt and you were not planning on washing it. Well, if you get yourself a water pen like this, you can get those marks out. Don't press on them. If you press on them, it'll be harder to get them out, and then you definitely have to wash them. That would be my experience. There. All right. So a couple of other choices in the marking still. Here's a hard blue one. That one's okay, but you can barely see it, and you have to be on a hard surface to mark him because he's got a hard tip. Or the ever popular, don't forget that it's air erasable, because that one, he'll be there now, and in about 5 minutes, he will disappear. So you have to use, if you're going to use this one, it's for quick marking. I haven't had a huge problem to find a product called Blue Line Eraser. I have never tried a blue line eraser. And yes, you're right, Roxanne, the spray bottle would work too. It's just a matter of how wet you want to get the surface of your quilt. So there you go. This is the marking tools. This guy here is probably my favorite of all, and this and a friction pen. And I really think you've got it covered because you could do this one on dark, this one on light. If you have both of these in your toolbox, you are all set with your marking tools. All right. So, Pinky, I hope that helped you. And again, Pinky, I do want to know, is your name Pinky? Are you named after Pinky Tuscadero? Because she was like so cool. She was like the coolest kid in that whole show. All right, so I'm going to take this off. Now we're going to go to a question that we got from Jackie. And I want to say hi to Jackie. Jackie's not watching us right now. She's one of our new members. She was the first person to sign up for the Quilt Addict membership. So remember, we've got 3 levels of membership. All of the 3 levels mean that you can add chats to the lives. Now, this second part of this live has gone a little crazy, but normally you can add chats to the live. If you want to do designer level, if you are a designer level, I need you to send your email to me. I want the first one we're going to do just kind of a live like this, but after that, when I'm doing the EQ education, that's electric quilt education, that's going to be for designer members only. So in 2 weeks, the day after Thanksgiving, I'll be doing a live similar to this that'll be for designer members. But after that, the designer member EQ training will be on Zoom. So it will be a very private kind of a Zoom thing, okay? And then the third level, and this is what Janet signed up for, is for all 3. She gets to send me questions and design questions, and I'm going to address her question in a second. And she's a design level, which means she can join the EQ. And third, that means that she is a quilt addict. That means that she's going to get a free e-pattern every time I put one out. So starts with, I've got 10 or so right now, and every month I'm going to be throwing one of those out there just to the quilt addicts. And like today, if you watched the first part of this live, because it kind of went, we have one and then we have two, whatever. Those Quilt Addict people, they got that pattern for free right off the bat. If any of you are interested, so some of you are just joining now, the first half of this, I did the fabric bowls, and with the fabric bowls, I showed you how to make that. I do have a pattern for this on my website, which is onpoint-tv. You can go to OnPoint and you can get them. Okay, so if you, you can get that pattern, tell us all about it. In the first half of the video, I actually showed how to make these. So people that are quilt addicts, they got to get that already. So they've got that in their hands, in their mailbox. If you haven't looked in your mailbox, it's there. So Janet, the other reason Janet's not watching is because Janet's from the UK. I think she's asleep at this point. I hope she's asleep. But she had a question before she left. Her question has to do with the design of her quilt. Now, I'm going to show you on Electric Quilt what she's talking about. Now, this is the Electric Quilt program that I talk about all the time. This is how I do all of my designing. Janet sent me the specifications of her quilt, wanting to know how she can fit this pieced border around the center sampler section. So her samplers, and it was a bunch of different designs. I just used a simple star to show it. Her samplers are 12 inches finished. Well, what I believe she has, and Janet, I hope I got this right, I chose to put a 3-inch sashing around her 12-inch blocks. She sent me pictures. That's what I think it is. But she wants to be able to fit this really cool pieced border around that. But right now, it's either too big or too small because she's only to this point right here. She's only got these sashings on, okay? This is how I would fit it, Janet. I would go to my borders, and around the samplers that you've already got made, and I'm assuming a 3-inch sashing, I would put one 2-inch white border. So you see here I have it set for a 2-inch white border. And then I would put a 3-inch border that is the same design as your samplers. Oops. Yep, let's do that. I want to blow this up just a little bit so you can see it. So I've used the same design as she had in her sashings. I've used that for the second border. That gives us 5 additional inches from the edge of the quilt top with the sashings to the borders. And if you do that, you will be able to perfectly fit in the really cool pieced border that you did. So if we go to our border section, I used the block border style, and I set them up so it is 12 inches wide, and I can use my little measuring tape to confirm it. They're 12 inches wide from top to bottom there, and they're 12 inches wide from side to side. I added just enough of this material to be able to get the border to be the perfect size. So I sent Janet the picture already because she is a member. And then after that, Janet, I would recommend that you put maybe a 2-inch additional border just to secure all of your sampler lines. And then, am I small again? Oh, Bill says I'm small again. That's okay. We're just going to let it go from now. Janet's got the picture. Next time I do this, we will have this bigger so that you guys won't be straining your eyes to see this. Here, I can make it a little bit bigger for you. There. That's kind of sort of what it looks like. So Janet is a Quilt Addict member, and she had a question about how the design is, and that's how I can help her with that. I did the designing in Electric Quilt. If you happen to want to be a member that is the design level, then we would have private Zoom classes where I'll be starting from the very beginning and then being able to answer your questions on Zoom. So it's going to be quite a bit different. The day after Thanksgiving, I'm going to do another video like this, and I will be doing all the EQ, but after that, Quilt Design members, y'all need to have your email so that I can send you the link to Zoom. So that is all of the questions that I have. Yeah, Antra, it got cut off. This video should air right after I get done, so there'll be 2 videos, and I'm going to call it Quilting Fabric Bowl Part 1 and Questions Part 2, something like that, because technology has just gotten away from me today. Nothing new. Technology always gets it. The only thing technical I can do is EQ, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty pretty good with that. I would love to show you a little bit more about EQ and lots of other things. All right, now somebody just mentioned that they could not afford Electric Quilt. It costs a couple $100, something like that. There is a program that Electric Quilt makes that's called Quilt Wizard, and that is a very simplified version of EQ where it gives you lots and lots of layouts and then lots and lots of blocks and colors, just not all the blocks and colors. And you can't design your own blocks and you can't design your own applique. But it is amazing to try it if you're just wanting to figure out whether or not you would actually do it. So I think it's worth it, getting the Electric Quilt. So I think I'm done for the day. We did fabric bowls. I showed you the block lock ruler. Those are both in part one. Then we covered all of the marking tools that I use and some electric quilt drawing. I'd like to thank all of the members. I really, really appreciate you guys trusting me to give you some more education that's really just for you. So if you're a member, remember that means that you can send me emails with questions, and I will find the time to answer your questions, hopefully on air. So have a great day. Thank you very much for sticking with us through all of our technological problems. And sometimes I'll just do regular, like the old-fashioned lives with just Athena and I. It just doesn't work when I'm doing the 3 cameras. So have a great day, and again, I really, really appreciate you guys watching. I'd appreciate a thumbs up, too. I don't appreciate thumbs down, and I think you can understand why. Have a nice evening. I'll talk to you all soon.